All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started today. We're going to continue the conversation, and we're going to continue planning and kind of preparing for our final project. So again, our final project is due the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. Okay. I typically make it due the week of Thanksgiving, and that's pretty much all we do. Okay. So the week of Thanksgiving, for those of y'all who are maybe trying to plan ahead, go ahead, come on in. For those of you who are trying to plan ahead, the week of Thanksgiving, that Monday and Wednesday will be project work only. Okay. Which means we don't have to come into class on Monday or Wednesday of that week. I can't speak for my colleagues throughout the whole college. But for me, I understand that some of y'all might have kids and they have the whole week off of school, but you only have Thursday, Friday off from school, right? And so I try to make it as easy as possible for that week. And so for us, it'll be, bless you. For us, it'll my class only. I can't, like I said, I can't speak for my colleagues, but for my class only, we do project work. So project work means that I will log into Zoom and you can log in and ask questions if you need help, but you don't physically have to come to class. Anytime that we have a project work day, you don't physically have to come to class, okay? Everyone should have the pages from Monday, but you need to have the worksheet, the RSTO worksheet, which is this one, the double-sided. And then you should also have this page that has the QR code on the bottom and it has the AP to recipe at the top, okay? So please make sure you have both of those papers. I don't believe the AP to recipe and QR code document, I don't believe that's in Canvas, but I'll see if I can find it in my hard drive and add it to Canvas. All right. So let's take a look. Our classes, fall 23. So what we're going to do in class today is we are going to work together and we are going to go through the steps of the project and we are going to use the RUB recipe, okay? So I'm going to show you how to use the process that we talked about on Monday, the step-by-step. And so then that way you can use this video as a resource. When you move on to other recipes in the project, you can come back to this one specifically and walk these steps again, okay? So does anybody remember what the first step is when we have to cost out a recipe from Monday? Write down the ingredients as is, okay? So we're on the front page, the front side of that page, and we're gonna find in the project module, okay? To make it easy for y'all, let me go ahead and move the module after our recorded lectures. So now the next time you log into Canvas, it will be my office hours, the recorded lectures, and the semester project, okay? So let's open up our menu set 2. And we're gonna be looking for the RUB. So let me zoom in. Okay, so we're working on the RUB recipe. So on the front side of this worksheet, where it says recipe, okay, the front side where it says recipe at the top, under the ingredients, you're gonna put item. You're gonna do chili powder. The amount is 8 tablespoons. So chili powder, amount is 8 tablespoons. Then the next one, ingredient, the item is salt, 2 teaspoons. The third item is garlic powder, 2 teaspoons. The last one, the fourth one, is chicken breast, and the amount is 32 each. So I'm doing this recipe for a couple of reasons. One, it only has 4 ingredients. Okay. 2, I'm doing it because we have 3 dry ingredients. It's going to give us more practice using that conversion website that we talked about on Monday. Okay. So we have that done. Raise your hand if you need a couple more minutes. Okay, excellent. Now, what's the second step? Copy the ingredients. So let's flip our page over. And in the ingredient line, the ingredient column, which is column number 1 on the food cost side, let's just write just the ingredients. So just the ingredient name: chili powder, salt, garlic powder, chicken breast. Now I'm going to remind you that your final project will be turned in typed. Okay? It will be turned in typed. So right now we're working on this RSTO worksheet. You don't have to do the work on this worksheet as you're doing all your calculations and all your work. You can do it on a separate sheet of paper if you want to. Let me show you that when you come to, what was our first one? Chili powder, right? And then the second one was salt. Third one was garlic powder. And the last one is chicken breast. Okay. Once you have this typed, you can copy and paste it over. You don't have to hand type it over and over and over again. Okay. Especially on great recipes that have a lot of ingredients. So once you type it on the first page, 8 tablespoons, 2 teaspoons. What was the garlic powder? 2 teaspoons. Thank you. And 32 each. Okay. I can copy that right into my amount needed. Okay. So go ahead and copy it into the amount needed. The 8 tablespoons, the 2 teaspoons, and 32 each. All right. Okay. Now what's our next step? We need to use our Chef Tech inventory list. That's going to give us our as purchased amounts. Okay. And actually, let me do one thing before we do that. I apologize. One thing that I would recommend that you always do first is check the semester project notes. Okay. So when we come to the semester project notes, for the rub recipe, it says right here, use the 6 ounce 129 each from Chef Tech inventory. So I don't even have to go to the Chef Tech inventory list. I'm already telling you, use the 6 ounce 129 each. So we can just go ahead and put right here, purchase amount is $1.29. And the purchase amount is each. So 129 each. And it says salt is 2 cents, so 0.02 per ounce. So the first thing you should really do is go to that Chef Tech inventory list. It's going to give, sorry, it should go to the discussion notes, the project semester notes. That will give you any kind of specific information. Now let's go to our Chef Tech inventory list. So that is found in our module, Chef Tech inventory list. What function are we going to use to look through this? Control F. Okay. Control F. So I'm gonna look for chili powder. And chili powder is not coming up. What do I do? Do I skip it? What do you think you should do? What might be the reason why it's not coming up? What's that? Because I only put chili, but okay. But what else? Okay, maybe I can look through the spices. What else? I spelled it wrong, possibly. So now let's look at just doing powder. Look at that, chili powder. The rest, the sheet has it with an E instead of an I at the end. Okay, so just because it doesn't come up, don't say, oh, Ms. Ruminski, it's not there. Maybe use a word that is, I don't want to say easier to spell, but easier to not misspell. I had a student about 2 years ago. I asked what was the most surprising thing that each student learned during the project. And she said that she learned that raspberry has a P in it. And she didn't know that because she couldn't find it on the Chef Tech inventory list because she was spelling it RASBERRY. She wasn't putting that P in there and it just wasn't coming up. So, I mean, we all learn something new every day. So our chili powder is $9.43 for 18 ounces. Okay. And since we have powder, let's keep going. Oops. Since we have powder, let's keep going. We hit enter, it goes to the next one. Garlic powder is $4.93 per pound. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns so far? So a lot of this is going to be things just to get kind of getting ready to start doing the math, and then we can actually start doing the math. Okay. So let me go. Just want to create a blank slide on this side so we can look side by side. Okay. So you all have in your handouts for today from Monday. Let me get to my annotation. There we go. It looks something like this. AP to recipe. Recipe unit cost. Okay. Essentially, this AP is these two columns right here. This recipe is this column right here. Okay, so this AP to recipe is really just like a visual representation of this chart without having to actually use this chart. Okay. And so the step that a lot of students were getting wrong is that they were trying to figure out how do I know when to stop dividing, when do I know when to start multiplying, and how do I figure out what the cost is, okay? And so I added this middle column, which is the recipe unit cost. And what we're trying to do in that column excuse me, is what we're trying to do. That's okay. So in class, y'all are going to realize I had to cough just then. But if you're watching the video, all those dramatic pauses, it's not for effect. I promise. Literally just because I had to cough. But the reason why I did that is because what we're trying to do is get our units to match, our recipes and our as purchased units to match, and then get down to the cost of one recipe unit so that we can simply multiply. We can multiply our recipe unit times our amount needed that gives us our ingredient cost. Okay, essentially what we're trying to do. So let me clean up this page a little bit. All right, so now let's talk about AP to recipe. All right, let's do chicken breast first, okay? Let's do chicken breast first. So chicken breast, what is my as purchased? $1.29. $1.29 each. And what is my recipe unit amount? 32 each. Do my units match? Yes, they're the same. Okay, check. Is my as purchased in the cost of one unit? It already is. It's already $1.29 each. So that's awesome. All I have to do is copy this over, $1.29 each. Okay, $1.29 each. And so since I have it like that, all I have to do now is multiply. What is $1.29 times 32? 41.28, you said? Okay. Everyone do me a favor, look at your neighbor's calculator. Show them your answer of 41.28. Make sure we're all in good shape. $41.28. And so that is what I'm going to type in this last column. $41.28. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about that? Okay. Now let's get into our other ingredients. I'm going to add in my column right here. This will just be a reminder for me to keep all of my work on the left-hand side of that column. Okay, so here we go. Let's do chili powder. Let's do red for chili powder. Okay. What is my as purchased for chili powder? $9.43 per 18 ounces. Okay. And what's my recipe amount needed? 8 tablespoons. All right, so by a show of thumbs up or thumbs down. Thumbs up, my units match. Thumbs down, my units do not match. Excellent, okay? So my recipe unit, what is it? Tablespoons. Is that volume or weight? It is volume. Okay, remember tablespoons, teaspoons, cups, gallons, pints, quarts. Those are all volume measurements. Okay, they do not match the weight. So my question is 8 tablespoons. I see tablespoons, it's a volume. Okay, great. My next question is it a liquid or a dry ingredient? If it's a dry ingredient, what do I need to use? Conversion website. And that's the QR code you have on the bottom of that page. If you want to use the QR code, great. I'm going to go ahead and open it up on our screen here. We're done with this. So in the modules, it's this volume to weight conversions. All right, my volume is 8 US tablespoons. Chili powder. Look at that, there's only one of them. Okay, now looking at my AP unit, which one of these measurements should I use? We should use the 2.26 ounces, right? That way our units match. Because if I were to use this 0.14 pound, then I'd have to convert 18 ounces to pounds. So I don't want to do that extra work. I want to keep it as simple as possible. And so what I'm going to do here, and this is what I actually do in my own work, is I cross this 8 tablespoons out, and I actually write 2.26 ounces. Okay. That way you see that that is the equivalent. That is the equivalent measurement that 8 tablespoons of chili powder actually weighs 2.26 ounces. Any questions on how I got there? Okay. So now do my units match? Thumbs up, down, yes. Thumbs down, no. Yes, my units do match. They're ounces. Is my cost in the cost of 1 ounce? No, it's in the cost of 18 ounces. So how do I get down to the cost of 1 ounce? We divide, right? This division line is that word per. So 943 per 18 ounces. I'm going to go ahead and divide those. What do we get? We get 943. I'm going to go ahead and pull my calculator up. $9.43 divided by 18 ounces. I get 0.523 with a whole bunch of numbers behind it. Okay. And remember, this represents dollars and cents. Okay. So we're going to look at the third decimal number. And if there is any number, it doesn't matter if it's a 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 repeating. If there's any number, we're always going to round up to the nearest penny. So this 0.5238 becomes what? 0.53, 53 cents. Okay, it becomes 53 cents. Now, don't go and run and tell your math teachers that Mr. Uminsky says that if it's a 3, we still have to round up, because they're going to be like, no, rounding says 4 or below stays the same. 5 and above, you round up. But they're not talking about money. They're talking about numbers, okay? Just numbers in general. So in this case, we are talking about money. So 53 cents per ounce, okay? So now our chili powder, our recipe unit cost is 53 cents, 0.53 per ounce. And that 8 tablespoons becomes what? Okay, 2.26 ounces. Okay. Now, what you might want to do, this just popped into my head. What you might want to do is just put 8 tablespoons equals 2.26 ounces. Okay. 8 tablespoons equals 2.26 ounces. Now, the reason why you might want to do this is because we use 2.26 ounces when we're costing this out, right? But when you are making this recipe, are you going to weigh out 2.26 ounces of garlic powder, or are you going to measure out 8 tablespoons? 8 tablespoons or half a cup. You could do half a cup, right? Because 4 tablespoons equals a quarter of a cup. So whatever, you can do that. But at least that way you know that what you're multiplying 2.26 times 0.53. Now, if that's confusing, go ahead and take it out. Okay, 0.53, 0.53 times 2.26. Now we've got this again, 1.197. So that becomes what? $1.20. Okay, $1.20. This is fairly tedious, but hopefully it will go faster as you go through the project. Okay. Questions about chili powder? All right, let's do salt together, and then I'm going to have you do garlic powder on your own. What? I know, you'll be fine. Okay, so let's get our project, our stuff set up the way we want it. All right, salt. What is our as purchased for salt? 2 cents per ounce. And our recipe unit is 2 teaspoons. Units match, yes or no? No. Teaspoons and ounces, they do not match. Okay, my next question is it volume or weight? It is volume. We know it's a teaspoon. So now what's my next question about my ingredient? Is it wet or dry? It's dry, which means we got to convert. We got to go back to the website. See, y'all are already pros. You're gonna get this project, no problems. Okay, now here we go. Salt. Holy cow. We don't want almond dried or dried roasted without salt. Okay. We don't want artichokes. We don't want applesauce. We don't, oh my gosh, there's so many salts. Okay. Now, if it just says salt by itself with no other description or clarification, if it says kosher salt, we're going to look for kosher salt. Sea salt, What other salts are there? I don't know. Himalayan pink salt. I don't know. Okay. Whatever. We're going to be looking for that specific kind. If it just says salt, we're using plain table salt. I usually use this HEB iodized. Okay. Update my information. I want 2 teaspoons. Give it a second. Okay. Now, I have 2 options. I have 0.42 ounces and I have 0.03 pound. Which one would I use? Why ounces? My purchase unit is already in ounces. So again, I don't want to do any extra conversions, okay? And so I'm going to take this 2 teaspoons and it equals 0.42 ounces. So basically less than half of an ounce for those 2 teaspoons, okay? So now do my units match? Awesome. Let's go back to here. Is my as purchased in the cost of 1 recipe unit? It is. It's already in the cost of 1 ounce. So we're in good shape. We just copy it right over. So some of them you can just go ahead and copy right over. And this 2 teaspoons becomes 0.42 ounces. When we multiply, now again, remember the reason why we're doing this, the reason why we get down to the cost of 1 recipe unit is so that all we have to do is multiply these columns together. So when we do that, multiply 0.02 times 0.42, you get 0.008. So what does that mean salt cost? 1 penny, right? We're always looking at that second decimal place. And so that means salt cost me 1 penny. Okay. All right. So now let's do garlic powder. Okay. Our AP, $4.93 per pound. Our recipe unit, 2 teaspoons. Garlic powder. We already have 2 teaspoons up there because of our salt. There's only 1 option for garlic powder. So which one should I use? Why pound? Because my AP is already in pounds. If I went with that 0.23 ounces, then I'd have to convert that 493 into ounce, the cost per 1 ounce. But since there is the pound option, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. So I'm going to cross this out, 0.01 pound. $4.93 per pound. This becomes 0.01 pound. Multiply straight across. $0.05. I said y'all were gonna do garlic powder on your own. Y'all didn't stop me. They're like, hey, Mr. Minsky, stop doing the math for us. All right. Are we done? No, there's still more math. Yay. Okay. Um, all right. The rest of the math is fairly simple. What's our next step? After we've cost out all of our ingredients, what's our next step? You want to add them all together. So that gives us our subtotal cost. Okay. It's our subtotal cost. So $1.20. Oops. Plus 0.01 plus 0.05 plus $41.28 gives me a grand total subtotal of $42.54. So down here at the bottom, $42.54. Okay, I'm going to increase this now since we're done with the top portion. All right, Q factor. What did we say our Q factor is going to be? Always 5% of the subtotal. Okay, so when you get once you get that subtotal, $42.54, we're going to multiply by 0.05, and that will give you your Q factor. Now remember, each time you do this, we're going to be rounding up. So $2.13. Each time you get to calculating a number, we're going to go ahead and round up that nearest penny. Then what's our next step after that? We get our Q factor, and then we have to. Yes, before. So I think I combined this step. It's the Q factor and then add to get your total recipe cost. Okay, so add these two numbers together. The 42.54 plus $2.13, 44.67. $44.67. That's my total recipe cost for this chicken. That includes the chicken breast and all the spices that I'm using. Okay. The Q factor. What is that $2.13 Q factor? Anybody remember? How have we talked about Q factor in the past? Do y'all remember how we talked about Q factor when costing out recipes? We use the example of like a barbecue plate. So the meat is one price. And then what is that Q factor? Like the free bread, the salad, the side, right? That's all that stuff. That's one way to think about Q factor. All those complementary items that come with an entree, right? Olive Garden has all you can eat pasta that comes with free breadsticks and free salad. It's not free. It's built into the cost of what they're selling the pasta for. Okay. So that's one way to think about Q factor. This way of talking about Q factor is basically, what if your prep cook doesn't actually measure out 8 tablespoons of chili powder, and they just sprinkle chili powder on top? And what happens if they use more chili powder because they're just sprinkling instead of measuring? If they were to do that, and we didn't have that Q factor built into there, then essentially if they used more than 8 tablespoons, then my food cost is going to go up because they use more than what my recipe actually called for. But by adding this Q factor in here, this is like incidental ingredients. What happens if somebody wants to use a little bit of olive oil to get that rub to stick to the chicken? Is that olive oil in our recipe? It isn't. But if they use a little bit of drizzle of olive oil, it's going to be covered in that $2.13. So it's kind of like a little bit of a safety factor, safety net built in for somebody that they're going to go a little bit above the recipe. Okay. So that's why we include that Q factor. Now, Chef Costello has told me that 5% is pretty high for a Q factor. When I asked him about it, that I said, okay, I will tell you that 5% is high, but all of my quizzes and my math is done at 5%. So we're going to keep it at 5% because I don't want to have to go back and regrade or redo all those quizzes. So we're going to keep it at 5%, but just know that that 5% can sometimes be a little bit high. Okay. All right. So now, what's our last step? Divide by our portion cost. Okay. So this was 44. No, this was 213. We add the 42.54, 44.67. Okay, now we're going to divide that by our 32 servings. For our project, it's always 32 servings. Okay, because every recipe is set to 32. When you go out into the real world, you have to use whatever the yield is for your recipe. That's what you're going to use. Okay, so when we divide that by 32, we get $1.39.5, so it's $1.40. $1.40 per portion. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, I'm going to go backtrack just a second. Go back to my module for a moment and look at my Chef Tech inventory. I meant to do this when we had this up in just a moment ago, but okay. Control F, we're looking for chicken breasts. Okay, so chicken breasts. We have a couple of different options, and that's about as big as I can make it. So I apologize, it's not too terribly big. Okay, but if I had not put in the semester project notes to use the chicken breast 6 ounces, how would you have been able to know that that's the option you should have gone with? Why would you know without me telling you that you between those 3 options that you should choose the chicken breast 6 ounces? How would you know? What's that? Well, no, without checking the project notes. If I didn't put it in the project notes. Well, that's what we're trying to figure out is the price. So if you come, let me see if I can rephrase this question. Okay, everyone close your eyes for a moment. Forget that there's a semester project notes. There's nothing to tell you. You open up your Chef Tech. Some of you aren't closing your eyes. It's okay. Don't worry. You can open them up again. Okay. So there's a Chef Tech inventory list. You come over here. You're looking for chicken breast. You see 3 options. Okay. 3 options. 2 of them, the measurements are each. One of them, the measurement is pounds. How would you know which was the best one to choose? Why the each? By reading the recipe. Your recipe unit is 32 each. And so I'm going to go ahead and use that one. Again, it's the same concept when we're using that volume to weight measurement conversions. Is it better for me to use the ounce of the pound conversion? Look at your as purchased. We can go opposite directions as well, okay? I just wanted to use that as a quick lesson. All right, so now we go to our quizzes. Okay, once we are done, we go to our quizzes. Go to the rub. Okay. The total cost for the chili powder is $1.20. I'm going to put 0.5 for the salt just because. My recipe subtotal. Submit my quiz. And I have 6 out of 8 correct. Okay. So I go through here. Okay, I got the salt wrong. I got the garlic powder wrong. But that's weird. I got salt wrong and garlic powder wrong, but why did I get my subtotal correct? Okay, I switched those two up, so that's good. That explains that. But I did actually subtract the 5 cents because I did on our quiz here, it was 42.54. I subtracted 5 cents, 42.49. Why did I still get that correct, even though I got those other two ingredients wrong? There is a buffer zone. There is what we call a margin of error. Okay. That margin of error, Canvas has, I have, when I create the quizzes, I have built in a margin of error. Okay. Because what I don't want to have happen, as you're working on this project, because this project can get very frustrating very easily. Okay. So what I've done is, because of the rounding, because of the decimals, sometimes I've given you a margin of error, sometimes not. If there's a definite answer, there's 0 margin of error. You have to have that one. For example, the salt has to be 1 penny. Okay. But all the margin of errors through the ingredients, I have to add up those margin of errors and add it to that subtotal. So that way, if you are off or you're within that margin on the ingredients, the subtotal will still count it correct. Okay. So when you email me and say, Mr. Uminsky, I got the ingredients wrong, but I got the subtotal right, I'm confused. Okay. That means that you're outside the margin of error on the ingredients, but you're within that margin of error on the subtotal. Okay. So we just might have to just go back and rework the ingredients a little bit. So then, remember, how many attempts do you have on each quiz? 99 attempts. Okay. So, okay, I got my salt wrong. I got my garlic powder wrong. Let me go back and rework these. Okay. So I go back here. I'm not going to fill out everything. I'm only going to focus on salt. I go back and do my math. Then I go to salt and I put 0, 1. Submit my quiz. Canvas is going to say, you have unanswered questions. Yes, I know I have unanswered questions. Okay. But the reason why I do that, because now if my grade is anything but a 1, if it's a 0, then I still have it incorrect. But if it is a 1 and I've only answered 1 question, that means that 1 question is right. And now I can move on to the next one. Okay. The next one was garlic powder. Let me go back and do my math on garlic powder. I come back, 0.05, submit. I got it right. My last attempt is to do what? Write them all down as correct. That way I have a 100% on that quiz. Oh man, what did I miss that time? No, I didn't do it on purpose. Sorry. I did not do that one on purpose. But there we go. It's a perfect example while we have 99 attempts. We can do it one more time and get a perfect score. Okay. So in this case, we used it the first time we did the whole recipe as is, right? We just put all the answers in. The second time we went ingredient by ingredient. The fourth time And now the 5th time, I'm going to go and correct my error and make sure I have a perfect score. Okay, that's why you have 99 attempts. This was 4 ingredients. So there's some recipes. Basically, the last 4 questions of every quiz is the portion cost, the total, the Q factor, and the subtotal. So if you look at a quiz right here, let's look at our quizzes. Menu set number 2, there's 8 points. That means there's 4 ingredients in that one. The 13 points, what's 13 minus 4? 9. That means there's 9 ingredients in that recipe. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. Let's see. What time do we have? 9:02. Yeah, plenty of time. All right. So this project, again, if you want to work ahead, you can. I would go to the syllabus tab in Canvas, and that will tell you, for example, the rub. This technically is due on the 16th of October. Yeah, that's fine, but you can get it done early. Okay. So, but that basically did the work all together. All you have to do is just do the quiz yourself. Okay. And then you'll see in the menu set where it says menu set 2, that is a recipe. So that kind of shows you when those ingredients, when those recipes are due. So if you get ahead, if you get done with that week's recipes, move on to the, don't just move on to the one it's next in the recipe itself in the menu set. Go ahead and come to the syllabus and see which ones are following after that. I will tell you really quickly, the velouté sauce. What kind of sauce? Everyone say it one more time. One more time. Okay, it's not veloute sauce. It's not the V sauce. It's a velouté sauce. Okay, velouté, whatever, however you want to say it. But it's not a veloute sauce. Okay, the velouté sauce is an ingredient in the cream of broccoli soup recipe. Okay, the velouté sauce is an ingredient in the cream of broccoli soup. So if we look at, hopefully it's here. I'm going off script for a minute. Yep, it is here. The velouté sauce. So whatever your total recipe cost is from the velouté sauce recipe, when you cost that out, whatever that total recipe cost is at the bottom, just put that in as the ingredient cost in the broccoli soup. Okay? Yeah, so let me show you. In the menu set, the cream of broccoli soup, one of your ingredients is 1 1/8 gallon of velouté sauce. Okay? And this is the velouté sauce recipe right here. So you're going to take this velouté sauce, cost it out, whatever that total cost is when you cost it out, just put it right here as this cost of the 1 1/8 gallon. Okay? It will be built into the cost of the soup. Questions, comments, concerns? It's a separate quiz, yes. It's a separate quiz. Yep. So what's that? No, the midterm quiz. So we don't have an actual midterm quiz. I have a midterm progress quiz. So it's simply questions to ask you, like for you to check your grade book. What's your average? Is it what you expect it to be right now? If it's not, what are you going to do for the second 8 weeks to make sure we get the average that you want? Just kind of a little self-reflection check-in piece. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. So I will record. Sorry.